The gorilla. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a gorilla in every in every profession, maybe. A lot of you guys have heard of him because he is everywhere. He's speaking at Housing Wire coming up. He's spoken at Momentum Builder, and he's all over the place. And he's actually a dear friend of mine. So I know him well. The gorilla Abdel Khawatmi, I believe is how you say his name. Anyways, Abdel, the gorilla. And the dude's just impressive, man. He executes better than anybody I know. You start formulating ideas, you think about things, you put together a plan, and then usually you get kind of tired by then and you stop doing it. This guy's already executed by the time you're formulating. So hearing from this guy today should motivate you because the execution that this guy has is really something else. And he breaks it down step by step by step. And also it's like, what does he do better than everybody else? You're going to learn a lot from him. And at the end, you're going to get a downloadable playbook that's going to be step by step for you, executable. I promise you're going to love this one. He is back, my buddy, the gorilla Abdel. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, dude. Just I'm laughing a little bit because in the questionnaire that we send out, it says, "How do you want to be introduced?" And I think you're the only person in our industry that says, "Introduce me as the gorilla."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Branding at its best.
All right, so I guess right out of the gate, like, why gorilla? How did that name stick?
So it's funny, right? So we started off. It was a joke with a referral partner. She had gone to like Marshalls or Home Goods, had bought me one of the gorilla gold, statutes that I'm sure we all see checking out at a Marshalls or Home Goods. Got that for me, and then we kind of just built a whole brand persona around it and kind of ran with it. And it just, you kind of build out that whole avatar around you and it stuck, right? Now the car's wrapped, the whole persona's wrapped, it's in our logo and stuff like that. And we kind of stuck with it. And nowadays everybody knows us as, I've got my commemorative, 250 t-shirt and
Nice.
and it's been cool. So
I mean, whenever I see you in a tank top, I can kind of see the resemblance.
yes. I made sure I at least put a t-shirt on with some sleeves, right? So it could be somewhat respectful.
All right, dude. So you were on podcast number 30 on our season 1. So I'm stoked that you're back. You're one of 5 people that I asked to come back because I just loved that podcast. I thought it was really good. So for everybody listening, go back, listen to podcast number 30, and you'll learn a ton from that. But this one's going to be off the charts right now. So just for the people that don't know you and didn't listen to it, who is the gorilla Abdel personally and professionally?
Yeah. So Abdel Khawatmi, proud server of God, right? I'm a father of 2 beautiful children, married for 18 years. My daughter, Layla, 14 years old. My son, Jimmy, at that time, 6 years old. Just a proud believer in trying to truly change some of the different perspectives of the mortgage industry, right? Where you're leading with, as our buddy Dave says, advice without price, right? And just leading from there. And we've been blessed with the opportunity to do so. Have our fun perspective. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a firm understanding of, your monthly payment, your cash to close, referral partners. The industry is obviously shifting, and we've had that, blessing to be able to explain that stuff and have fun along the way. So.
And how long have you been in the business now?
So last month was my 8th year in the business. Truly full time has been within the last 5 years. I dove into it November of 2019, face first. We were blessed, obviously, with COVID. Came into it, and we have not turned since. And just like anything, there's trials and tribulations where you go through. Loan officers come and go, referral partners simultaneously. But we've built a very strong perspective, as you and I both know, because we run into each other all the time. I think the last time we saw each other in person aside from momentum builder and sales mastery was at DC. And I always get so excited to show, and we're a part of like several private groups too. I always get so excited to show the stuff that we're doing, and execution steps and prompts, and AI has obviously been something that we have been blessed to be able to actually execute on. But really 8 years predominantly NMLS perspective, but truly 5 years all in, eat, sleep, breathe mortgages has been that kind of perspective of where we're in.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that when you say eat. Would you say eat what?
Eat, sleep, breathe, right? Eat, sleep,
Eat,
breathe
sleep,
mortgages.
breathe. That is you, man. Because I remember one time so Abdel and I are in this little small group. There's what, 7 of us, maybe
Yeah.
6 or 7 of us. Call it the AI Fight Club, and we just get in there and talk. But just a incredible group of people. And he went on vacation one time, but he made the mistake of discovering vibe coding on the
Yes.
way to wherever he were going. You like didn't even sleep. You just kept going after that.
Yes. Literally.
Anyway, man. So you've been in the business for 8 years. Are you still personally producing, or are you just growing the brand and the branch,
Yeah.
or the region, I should say?
Actively, heavily producing myself. It's always a fine balance, right? Between, sharing actionable strategies and execution, standpoints that are working in today's market, right? You had, I could speak in attestment to pre-COVID, where you told the loan officer, right, to show up with, the cliche donuts, and you made your routes, and you were face to face with people, versus like COVID, they were like, go kick rocks. Versus, I always say this, you've heard me say, well, like post COVID, where it was like, hey, these are the cool things that we're doing, and let's jump on Zoom because we're told statewide that we can't do this stuff. And then post COVID, which is kind of like what I talk about now, where interest rates are taking a dump, and what are the actionable strategies that you're doing to still tap into trillions of dollars being closed, and kind of taking it from there.
Yeah, and you're doing it's the 35 million in the New Jersey region, and then you put in over 200 million. Is that your entire region of what you guys are doing, your
Yeah,
group?
yeah, a little over 200. It might even be probably this year just a shy of 250. And it's just like I said, right? Just sharing actionable strategies of the things that are moving the needle, right? Every single business model is going to be unique, right? If you've been in the business for several years, you might not be tapping into AI. You might be doing a little bit more traditional belly to belly, right? You might be doing a little bit more traditional home buying seminars. So there's so many different aspects of this business where you can be successful in it. But you and I talk all the time. We exchange notes. I mean, the reality of it is just like sticking to what's working, monitoring your conversion metrics, and finding out what works for you, and tripling down on that. It's going to give you that much more of an ability to be successful.
I think that's one of the things I love about you is, well, let me just actually create a whole list for you. But your metrics, you love metrics, as I do, and you geek out on them.
I do.
Without them, it's hard to make good decisions, right? Like intelligent decisions. But I'll even go back just a little bit further. Just well, you're on the younger side only because I'm on the older side now. But how old are you?
I'm 36.
36. You're at this perfect age. I've seen it before. I saw it in 2008, where afterwards, the aftermath, right? Like I was actually 36 in the aftermath, and it was just young enough that I could adapt to whatever it is that was happening, right? Because when we were still using the freaking fax machine back then, like all of a sudden we had to like email locks, and we had to go to portals, and people were freaking out. But the guys that were just a little bit older, they never adapted. So I want to like just stick on this one word for a minute, adapt, right? Like life is always adapting. And that's one thing about you. Oftentimes I would say in the past is like, you're still young. You haven't even seen a bad time yet, right? But you've been living a bad time, what the rest of us would call a bad time for the last 4 years, and
Yeah.
you're thriving in this bad time because you're adapting. You're not stuck in this, like, old way of doing things, and you're not stuck in this mindset of how bad everything is. To you, you still have this, like, clean canvas, and you're just going at it any way you want, and I love that. So to everybody listening, I mean, there's a lesson there. And number one, don't ever get so old in your head, at least because age really doesn't matter, but don't get so old in your head that you're not willing to change and adapt. Without it, you might as well just die. That's what's going to
Totally.
happen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's trials and tribulations with everything, right? Like this past week alone, whenever this gets dropped, right? We're shooting this post 6 month. I just got rid of 3 loan officers. We had our 6 month assessment. Seasoned guys, right? Uber successful, but just not moving at the level of perspective of what we're looking for, right? We're are you tracking, you might have seen me talk about this, right? The 6 C's, right? Are you tracking your content, your clients, your conversations in our world, your credit, your contracts, and your closings, right? And do you know the conversion metrics between the same? And I'll repeat this again for those listening. Are you tracking the content you're putting out there? So not just Instagram, social media, Facebook, like content in terms of just belly to belly conversations. How many people did you meet face to face? Right? You went, and I'm a part of like 5 different networking groups, from different chambers of commerces to local charity groups to local BNIs, right? Are you tracking the number of people in that group, and how many people are you potentially having conversations with? And then from there, it's the number of clients that you're getting from those groups, right? All right, you've capitalized that because it's somewhat easier to do so. The hard part is like content to client. All right, so now you've had the client conversations. Now from there, it becomes down to just conversations. Your CRM should gauge your text messages, your emails, how long you spent on the phone, and so on and so forth. Obviously, the hard part from there is credit, right? How much credit are you pulling? Are you spending too much time in different various rooms where you're getting a lot of credit pulls, but it's leading to maybe credit repair? It's okay, right? Do you have a trusted 1 or 2 credit confidants that you could simultaneously refer to or personally give necessary insights thereafter, right? If you're getting a lot of credit repair, brother, you're spending a lot of time, and maybe that's the room, but that is like a 6 month room, right? That is maybe a 90-day room. And then obviously from there it translates to contracts, closings, and so on and so forth. So, and I've had tough conversations with some seasoned guys, and they may or may not look at their business model that from that like day-to-day perspective, and that's okay, right? But when we look at things, as you know, I'm a stickler on KPIs because that's going to give me the opportunity to know, am I spending too much time in one particular niche or in my entire business model? And do I need to spend more time concentrating on this based on my closings, or do I need to spend more time basically on something else?
Yeah, for sure. And dude, map out the whole engine for me now, right? Just the core things that make your business work. We went over the 6 C's, and even though one would think that's kind of everything, it's not. It's just piece of it, right? But go walk me through the entire aspect from A to Z quickly though, and hit upon the best parts, and then the big questions coming after that. So leave the best for that one. The
Sure.
one thing you do best in class. Okay.
Branding. I mean, you work with us as a referral partner. You know that we're always going to push one another as that picture perfect brand. We're always education first, right? Especially in today's day and age where it's so noisy, right? We're Mr. Consumer. What am I talking to you? What's your pain points? What are you looking to accomplish? You're a first time home buyer. If you're a first time home buyer, like I'm going to concentrate so much on the power of real estate, on the power of appreciation, on how much home values have skyrocketed depending on your local market, right? Because we do business throughout the entire nation. But say we're on the East Coast in New Jersey, I mean, dude, these houses are like crazy, right? So I'm going to concentrate on that. I'm going to talk about how much you've paid in rent over the last several years versus how much you've built on appreciation. I'm going to talk about, if you're looking into whatever the case may be, condos, townhomes, multifamilies. Now, if you're a affluent borrower, let's call it 800 plus credit score, 20, 30% down, or boomer, we're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about wealth management strategies. We're going to talk about what have you done in terms of why do you not put 50% down on a monthly payment? Why do you put 30% and take that other 20% down and throw it into money market or investments or whatever the case may be, right? So we really try to blanket that consumers' options based on their particular perspectives and introduce referral partners, financial advisors, CPAs, accountants, right? You and I both know non-QM has been something that really nobody used to talk about. Maybe I didn't, but 3 4 years ago, right? Non-QM was not something that you kind of talked. You throw around the word DSCR, where a client's like, "What the heck is that?" Right? So we kind of really focus on that particular consumer that we're talking about. What's your ultimate goal? You're trying to sell a property. Maybe you need a bridge loan. Let's talk about the benefit of that. Let's talk about what the opportunities are. Maybe you keep that property and talk about rental and what's your yield from there, and then kind of really paint that picture from there to the consumer visually and also analytically in place with mortgage coach or whatever the perspective is.
Let me ask you this question regarding that. It's always been easy for me to do that. It rolls off your tongue just as easily. I I struggle with telling some of my guys what to do because they don't even know how to do any of that stuff, right? And where I want to go with this question is like I say it all the time on my show. It's just like there's loan officers and they have a job. Then there's mortgage advisors and they have a career. So I'm well read. Like I read constantly. I'm always trying to learn, right? Maybe I think that might be the difference. If you're watching TV or if you're doing something in your free time, maybe you should try getting a little bit smarter so that you can give better advice and that you can understand it for yourself so that you can teach it to somebody else. Do you guys have, because unless you're this unbelievable leader that trains all your people on everything, I don't think it's possible. I think it's too much.
No.
But do you have any kind of a training thing for your people to get them to that place, right, where they can become better mortgage advisors?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I still heavily produce and invest is kind of not a leader, as I say, with the feet on the table, that cliche saying, right? Where we enjoy pulling up MBS highway platforms and showing them how we're diving in so much more about amortization and appreciation and breakdowns, or Dave's platform with mortgage coach and what happens if you make an extra monthly payment and what's the appreciation. And then to your point, right, when you first introduced me, I made the mistake of getting into vibe coding. And it's been the freaking greatest thing because it's like, the other big part, Dino, is I think what's in here, what I've realized with AI and vibe coding is I could simplify it so much to the point where it's accessible to the consumer. And I think that was my biggest challenge in my career was, and I'm not the smartest guy. Okay, I got my bachelor's, I've got my master's. I skipped law school because my wife gave birth senior year of college. But it was always like, how do I simplify this to the consumer? Like what am I trying to explain, or my loan officers, frankly? And it was always like, hey man, the consumer is coming to you because they were referred from a referral partner, or they find you on ChatGPT, or they find you on Google and all that fun stuff. Is how do you simplify this to a consumer to explain what you're articulating in the simplest fashion? right? And understanding your target audience, right? As I said earlier, if I'm talking to a first time homebuyer, I may not necessarily be talking about 1031 exchanges because they don't know anything to 1031. In today's market, especially on the East Coast, is you're selling, those boomers that bought a house and now they have so much money and they don't have the potential opportunity to, they're selling, they're maybe netting 4 or 500. They want to buy a 6 or 700,000 dollar home because that's just the home price that they're at, and they're potentially about to be retired and they need to take a mortgage for 2 or 300,000, but they don't have the capacity to do so because they're on a fixed income of Social Security and so on and so forth, and or they might be a business owner and they don't necessarily claim the taxes. Well, my job is to advise them and also know what are the various different non-traditional aspects out there that can qualify them for it, right? And then explain to them why interest rate necessarily is not a factor, why they can, take their social security early, or they can liquidate or do an asset depletion. So what I've learned over the years, and honestly, frankly, within the last 6 months, right, 7 months, is I need to listen to the consumer first. God gave us 2 ears. Listen first and understand where is the consumer at in their world, in their life, and how I can give them sound advice as to what would make the most financial best sense for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your next piece here, I'm looking a little ahead. You got database and follow up. And you want to give us your take on what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have your, obviously you go through, we do, you've heard me say this before, Monday, Wednesday, Friday post contract, right? So client closes post contract. We do Monday, Wednesday, Friday email updates. You have your buyer, the referral partners are on there. So buyer's attorney in New Jersey, we have a lot of attorneys. So buyer's attorney, you have your buyer's agents, you have your consumers, title, insurance, so on and so forth. Everybody knows what's happening in the contract. Is it redundant to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? 100%. But Monday, usually you walk in the office, you're like, what am I doing? Send an update, loan officer. Wednesday, middle of the week, what has happened, so on and so forth. Friday, before the weekend. Just send a freaking update, dude. Like it costs you maybe like 3 seconds to do so. And you and I both know during a contract perspective, you really kind of have like 3 sets of potential updates in the deal. You're prepping for disclosures, the file has been submitted and it's been approved, or you're clearing conditions and it's about to get cleared to close. Send your updates. The parties are going to be aware. They're going to uber appreciate the fact that you're over updating them. If a consumer or a referral partner says, hey, stop sending updates telling me where I'm at, you know, it might be a certain thing, right? And then post contract is where I love, right? We're doing those quarterly check-ins. Hey, dude, what's going on? How's everything going? And we become methodical, right? We're, in New Jersey, obviously we're now into of a new quarter. Well, it started, in July, but it starts getting warm. So now I'm recommending power washers, pest control, various different referral partners that you need to upkeep the premise, right? And then generally my business partners, you're recommending around earlier, but let's call it like, hey, you're a business owner. Did you file, I know you did an extension on your taxes. Do you have that trusted confidant? Do you have your CD based on what you paid on points? What are the various different aspects that you can, and how can I continuously stay top of mind for you, not just on social media, but from a personal perspective, where I'm also checking in with you consistently to build that repeat business for the rest of my career.
Yeah. Yeah. In your next piece, you got artificial intelligence, which we've talked a little bit about. I feel like I've talked to you a lot about, but for everybody listening right now, right? And let's back it down to a mortgage advisor level, right? You're up here, you're doing things that's for your guys, but for somebody listening right now that just wants to do better, at taking care of their clients, better at taking care of their partners, and be more effective and efficient in their day-to-day business. What kind of artificial intelligence tools should they be using, or how should they be thinking to use it?
So So the first thing, and Dino, I know you've heard me say this several times, is the first thing is God gave us 24 hours in a day. How can I maximize more productivity? Right. The first thing is every single person here must religiously live by their calendar. And hopefully you do, right? Because we're all successful mortgage professionals in this industry. So the first thing you do is you connect whatever AI LLM that you use, whether it's Chat, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, whatever it is, connect it to your calendar, because that's the first thing that's going to tell you, are you maximizing the use of your calendar or are you not? Plain and simple, guys. Every single professional here has the opportunity to do so, whether it's Gmail, whether it's Outlook. If you use iCloud, you could use a separate platform called Zapier that could connect them, and you're back to where you need to be, right? So that's the first thing, because I'll be honest, every single day, every single week, every single month, it will tell me what I have coming up, what I have completed for the week, and what I have completed for the month. Now, if you guys enjoy finding out, well, what did I do in 2025 and what am I looking to do in 2026, you can compare the two to find out, well, why did I close more business in July of 2025 versus July 2026? And the power of connecting AI is it will literally tell you, hey, dude, you had more client conversations in 2025 than you did in 2026. Or you had more referral partner conversations in 2025 and 2026. Like my calendar now is you're having a little bit more of different meanings. It's not consumer specific meanings, it's more LO specific, mortgage specific type of higher level meetings, which is the level of where our business is transpiring. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, giving it the necessary advice in terms of content, right? What's the content that you want to put out there, and having that accountability partner to tell you what type of content you need to put out there, right? Assess my Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Here's my facebook.com/got mortgages, and tell me, based on the content that I'm putting out there and based on these specific metrics on my dashboard, what should I be concentrating on, right? So it kind of becomes that accountability coach as to where I need to double down on and what are the necessary perspectives that I need to put a little bit more effort on, that I think I'm putting a little bit more focus when I should be maybe concentrating elsewhere. That would be my bare basis. And then it translates into so much more, like, where you're creating a custom GPT for guidelines, you're creating a custom GPT for sales, you're creating a custom GPT for this, you're building a Claude project, and how do you separate the two, right? My chat GPT is more from an ops sales perspective. And then my Claude is a little bit more from a marketing perspective, because I found it to speak more like me, talk like me further, blog further like me, go to answer the public and pull out content that's further, give it to my team that they can immediately put it or use Codex or Copilot to do so, and kind of take it from there.
Nice. What about just AI tools? Let's just say tools in general. If you had to give advice right now, the the bare minimum every mortgage advisor should have in his tool bag is what?
Um, the bare basic of a note taker per meeting. So whether it's Fireflies, Otter, what else is out there? Fathom, whatever the case may be, right? And that should be present throughout every single consumer meeting, right? Now, there's some with Plaid where you could click a button and you could record the call. You could also freaking do that on your phone and just hit voice memo and then just upload it to one of those platforms. So save yourself $200, right? So that's the first perspective, because then, Dino, what I've learned over the last really my entire career is, then what? Right? All right. So you've introduced a note taker. Then what? What are you doing from there? Right. So, we use a Notebook LM. So if you have a Google Workspace, everybody has access to Notebook LM. So we have fun with it. So now I'm like, all right, so I heard really cool convo. Yeah, I can send an email. Hey, dude, thank you so much for meeting. Or I use Calendly and it sets up an automatic, hey, thanks for meeting. Here's the docs that I need, or thank you for meeting. Here's our partnership link, or whatever the platform may be. You probably, I hope you did, got a reminder of our schedule coming in, or maybe one of your teammates did in advance because that's set up with Zapier. But what do you do with this info? Like, you've gathered this information with a consumer. What do you do? All right. So the cool part about it is I could take all this information, I could absorb all this information, and I want to give the consumer or referral partner something of value. So I give them something of value, which is a full blown transcript, call it 2024, right? That's what everybody did. But how can I articulate all this information? And again, it's the art of delegation. And if you're a single loan officer, you have delegated, dude. Maybe have a specific project within Claude that could say, hey, I'm going to drop this transcript in here and help me articulate a very short, max 2-paragraph sentence, recapping the conversation with the partner and the action steps of where we're supposed to go. Boom, done. Right. And I think that's the part where
I'll tell you what I've done with transcripts in particular, something that I'm a believer in. I don't know about you. You've been married for a long time, but are there times where you just don't understand what your wife's telling you, or she doesn't understand what you're talking about?
the art of marriage.
So the art of marriage is also the love languages, right? And it's also a disc profile test that can be taken. Come to realize, my top 2 love languages are my wife's bottom 2, and vice versa.
We'll see how it is.
We're just the opposite in many ways, right? The way I understand and hear something needs to be spoken to me a certain way. Clients are all like this. So I've actually, and I, every once in a while, I'll take a client consultation just so I can do it again, because I don't do them very much anymore. But I'll tell you what I created that I'm just going to pat myself on the back right now because I thought it was genius. But I've created a template, and of course it's the basics, right? Like, income, assets, liabilities, all that stuff. I'm a believer, just the way I always did it. Yes, we still send out links to go fill out a loan application, but I don't send out a link until after we speak to a client in a consultation like manner, so
Great.
that I can develop a relationship with them before I ask them to do something that's actually kind of difficult and something people hate doing. So in this conversation, though, I touch upon all these little things. And what's interesting is at the end, I have it break down for me with a confidence score of 1 to 10. Can you predict what their love language is? And then with a confidence score of 1 to 10, can you predict what their disc profile is? And then at the very end, I have it create the email draft that is going to be sent to them, asking them for the needs list, right? Like whether it's pay stubs or whatever, according to Fannie Mae guidelines, or if it's something else, we can edit it. But if there's a confidence score of 7 or higher, I want you to write it in a way that their profile or love language will understand it. And that got me to thinking just in general about marketing, for example, and emails of just day-to-day communications. My day-to-day communication is much shorter, much faster, maybe could be considered rude by some people, right? So I have to step it back when I'm talking to a client and do a little exclamation mark, or it's a girl, an emoji, or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, though, it's like, you know what? I'm not smart enough to interpret that specifically for each person, but I believe that we should just go to our AI and have it write, like, hey, here's the message I want to convey. The profile for this person, and if you're not doing transcripts, Abdel is so right. You have to do transcripts. Like, you just have to, and start logging them into everything, and then your AI will read it and it'll draft the email. And believe it or not, that extra few seconds it takes to do this, number one, it's going to be crafted so much better than you could ever do. But number two, it'll be delivered in a way that will be heard. And that, I think, is the most important part here. So
yeah, there's
great advice on transcripts. I went a little overboard, but super important.
It's so true, because I mean, listen, even till this day, right? I just had a past consumer, or I should frankly say current consumer, looking to purchase a home. Credit was light. One of the recommendations was for them to consolidate, their credit. They reached out. They're like, hey, we got a personal loan. Credit was in the, low to mid 5s. and they got a loan for like 40 grand. And I'm like, shit, like that's great. Where did you guys go? And then I'm like, please send me, screenshots. And it was one of those, debt consolidation platforms. I'm like, whoa, hold up. That's a lot different than you guys taking out a personal loan. What those platforms may, whether it's right or wrong, it might fit a certain client avatar, but it's not gonna fit our mortgage avatar. Dude, they're gonna make you go freaking late, which is gonna only injure you from a qualification perspective. And then they're like, yeah, we're gonna get the money. They're getting about 50 grand, but we're gonna get it in 90 days. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, hold up. Here's our in-house credit consultant. I'm gonna recommend them to you. Let them do their due diligence and do so. And it truly was. Basically, they're gonna make them go delinquent for the next 90 days. And then they're going to simultaneously offer them, quote unquote, 50 grand, which is really just a debt settlement perspective. But now you've shot yourself in the foot, right? So we've caught that very quickly. And the referral partner who recommended them is trying to sell their house. So you got to kind of like, be able to be like, hey, dude, I don't want you to lose this listing. But at the same time, this is something that's going to require a little bit more finesse at the same time where, they're not in a position to sell immediately. We need to maximize their credit profile to a bare minimum to get them to qualify. So what my agents love is they also know I am not a trigger happy, lender, right? Where, oh my God, I just talked to you and yes, you make X amount and they qualify and so on and so forth. But I'm also like very like, as I say, stingy with the approval. Because if I give you that approval, I've now stamped it. I've now put my name on it. And if I give you that approval, it's getting to the closing table. Rather than, unfortunately, in our industry, or many industries in particular, where they're giving you that sales approval and you get post-contract, like, yeah, sorry, we have a problem. And I strive on those people screwing up because I'm usually the guy that gets the call from an agent and they're like, hey man, John Doe Mary Smith is not responding. And I look at it obviously with utmost scrutiny at that point. And then it's usually either credit or frankly, in many instances, debt to income. And I'm like, yeah, dude, because they didn't, count this debt and now they're over. And now we got to look at non-occupying borrower or wherever the case may be. So again, I go back to my point where God gave us 2 ears. So I'm always listening to the consumer first without reacting fast to just hearing what they're telling me and then executing from there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna speed through this list a little bit more, just so we can get to the meat of it. Your next piece is brand and content, which we're not even going to talk about because we're going to go deep into that in a minute. Speed and process, which I'm a huge believer in. I'm going to tell a quick little story. I grew up in the fast food restaurant business. Started with hamburgers. Eventually, my dad ended up going into Mexican food. So we had burgers and Mexican different restaurants. And my dad always told me, and I a few people might remember the story. And you're probably too young. Did you ever watch Saturday Night Live back when John Belushi was in it? Like before you were even born.
No.
So there's this one skit, and it's imitating. First of all, you're in Jersey. I'm sure there's plenty of Greeks out there, and they all have burger places, right?
Oh, yeah.
But next time you go, ask them which is the best burger, and just ask them a question. Get them to say the word hamburger. For whatever reason, they can't. They always say hamburgi, hamburgi, and this John Belushi skit was all hamburgi, hamburgi, and so my dad in his good English, like he spoke great English, but he could not say hamburger. He would say hamburger. So he would say, son, listen to me. He goes, they make, or he goes, worry about making the best hamburger you can make. Because if you make the best hamburger, the money will come. He goes, but always remember one thing. They call it fast food for a reason. If somebody has to wait 20 minutes for their hamburger, they're not going to be happy. And no matter how good it tastes, they're going to be pissed off while they're eating it. So he goes, fast food. You got to get them their food as fast as possible. And if you want to be successful, faster than everybody else. So I love like when you put on here speed and process, right? I don't think you can have speed unless you have process and systems. Without systems, it's just impossible, right? There's a bottleneck every time. And I know you well enough, and I'm like this. It's like, let's just analyze, right? So now we go back to your metrics, KPIs. Where is the bottleneck, right? Like, forget thinking you're the best at everything. Like, you better get KPIs on everything because even if you're good, maybe you can speed one little segment of your process up by one day. And just like that, it opens the door,
Totally.
right? So speed and process. I love that concept. Unless you have something really great to say there, let's keep moving.
No, I think it's the key, dude. I mean, speed, obviously, referral partners want to close quick, consumers want to close quick, depending on the circumstance, right? Sellers want their money yesterday, right? And then the process needs to be regimented to the point. There is no like what if scenario. It's contract comes in place, disclosures go out, appraisal gets ordered, files submitted. We TBD everything. So when a client is pre-approved, the junior underwriter reviews everything, assesses the income, gets an understanding at a minimum of where the asset's at. At that point, dude, it's the four C's, right? Credit, capital, collateral, capacity, right? We're there. We understand the bare basics. Keep it moving. So
Yeah, for sure. And And then your last one was community, and I don't wanna speed through that one 'cause I have a heart for it. So, when you say community, you wrote here, got mortgages, local involvement, the CARES Foundation, chamber involvement, coaching, other operators through Elevated Alliance. Tell me tell me about your heart for this and why.
yeah, so we always knew that it was important from a local business perspective to take care of the people around you, right? My father passed away 2 years ago, and I'm still remiss, right? We came from, you might have come from the same, but first generation, right? Families who immigrated here and made sure that we, wanted the American dream, and then you accomplished it, right? My father owned, to an extent, also very similar restaurants, right? Um, so so after a certain point, I was always remiss to my dad always saying, right, don't add zeros in your bank account, make sure where you came from, right? So we were able to I wouldn't say escape, but leave the, city life into the suburban life and stuff like that. And my father would always say, right, make sure you remember where you came from. So for quite some time, right, I ended up opening up the Got More Than Just Cares Foundation as a commemorative to him. He passed away 2 years ago to cancer. And so now we go, and I always said, what do I concentrate on, right? Whether it was, the disadvantaged, whether it was the homeless community, whether it was a specific niche, or honestly, the stuff that I didn't know when I was growing up, which is financial literacy, right? So now we concentrate so much on financial literacy to the point where I mentioned earlier, I've got two beautiful children, right? My 14-year-old who's been working with us for the last 2 years, she just clocked out, or she's about to clock out in 3 minutes, right? From working with us, and I was always like, holy shit, like, yeah, my kids didn't realize, or I should say, other children may have not realized, and I don't want to say the value of a dollar, but my daughter has been working with me for the last 2 years. From a young age, she's got her own bank account, she's got her own debit card, she's got her own stuff, and she is like regimented with her tasks. When she is hired, since last year, even this year, she got her onboarding workbook. She's got a whole freaking workflow of what she's supposed to do, and I loved it, and I'll never forget it. For the last year and a month and a half, when she first started with us, obviously she was exposed to the business for the first time last year. And then this year, she goes, "Hey, oh, well, I know when an application came in, we used to do this. No, you don't have to do any of that stuff because AI grabs it, it articulates it, it adds it to the bucket based on the conversation. It adds the CRM script based on that stuff. It tags it." She goes, "Holy crap, right? I didn't realize like this. Oh, I didn't realize based on the conversation, it tagged it a certain way or uploaded it a certain way." So we started teaching a lot of financial literacy, right? So we actually go to schools, right, locally and teach financial literacy to kids who are generally from 10th to 12th grade. And we talk more. There's a home buying sprinkle to it as well, right? But it was more of career, right? I was originally going to law school during college. My wife, as I said earlier in some of my other pods, gave birth senior year of college. So it was a holy snap moment. And we made the eventual, perspective of I go work for a law firm. I did. It was a personal injury perspective law firm. People got cases settled. They wanted to get money. They go and buy a house. They got money and so on and so forth. And that's how I got pulled into this lovely business that you and I are in, right? But I always put it in perspective where how do I invest back in teaching the stuff that we practice on a day-to-day perspective, right? So there was that. Then Got Mortgages Cares came about because now we'll always choose a local charity with one of our partnered organization and invest back, not just financially, but physically too, of promoting their own message of what they're looking to do. Book back drive, schools, domestic violence, right? Somebody with cancer who is looking to do a kick cancer overboard. We just did an organization last quarter, right? Really investing back where you're not just looking at me as a dollar figure, as me talking to you as how much business I'm looking to close, or the traditional perspective of this loan officer is trying to undercut that loan officer. I'm just trying to hook you up. Like I'm trying to share with you some of the various different perspectives, and obviously, as long as I take care of you, God in many ways is going to make sure we're taken care of along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome, man. I love that. All right. What are you best in class at? Out of all those things we talked about, like what's your thing?
I would say execution. Um, you and I have spoken. We've been on several private text messages, group text messages, in person. I love that we've got to know each other more and more over the last probably year and a half, right? If that. Um, for me, it's execution. It's I don't like to just talk about something, dude. Like by the time you and I are done, like when we were in DC, like if I talk to you, we were at was that really cool place? I think the aviation museum or whatever. Like by the time I got to my hotel room, like I had already texted you like the prompts that I had mentioned to you. Like this is what we're freaking doing. And I think that if there's anything, bro, like prior to COVID, as you might have heard me talk about this before, but prior to COVID, it was like you were dating somebody. You looked your best, you smelled your best, right? You can get away with you not knowing jack shit. And then post COVID, it was like you got married, right? Where it was like, holy crap, you don't throw your sock in the hamper and you don't do this and you don't do that. And then what I always say, and I always relate it in this perspective, and then post COVID, it was like, you're full of shit, right? You have no idea what you're talking about as a mortgage professional. And I think the industry has exposed that. And AI has only become that much more. We have never dealt with a more educated consumer than today's world. And if my authenticity will give me that competitive advantage to really build out that perfect client like loan process as to what we're looking to put in place and stay regimented to it, a consumer you might fool. A referral partner, one Mississippi, two Mississippi, eventually they're going to find out that you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And I found that over the years where that referral partner I work with consistently is like the email that you sent to John Doe is the same freaking email you sent to Mary Smith. The loan process you sent to John Doe is the same freaking loan process Mary Smith comes. And what I love too is we speak the same languages too. So even if I talk to a specific consumer and I didn't necessarily have a behind the scenes conversation with that referral partner, they're saying the same shit because they know what's coming out of my mouth is very regimented, right? And that's the lovely part of why I've picked mortgages over real estate is it's black and white, right? And I revert always back to the traditional four C's. Yes, I'm a young dude, but it's the four C's. It's that credit, capital, collateral, capacity, right? That's that traditional perspective. And if I can just continue to innovate and make that more of a visual perspective to a consumer, I found that to be super successful in our business.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. One of the other things that I think you're really good at is branding. Um, Obviously the gorilla, right? But there's more than that. You've done a great job creating your own brand, and and one of the questions I have is it's your brand, but you run a team. Have you made it their brand? How
Every single
difficult has it been?
It's so hard, obviously, just like right? Because it's the gorilla. The gorilla is hyper heavy in the hyper local marketplace. One of the biggest things when I hire a originator is we will build your own individual brand. Like it's a must, right? So like what makes from the initial conversation when I'm having a loan officer consultation is what makes you special, right? You're going to piggyback off of my systems, my resources, my opportunities, but what makes you special? Who is your, as you heard me say, right? I have three avatars in my business, right? Client, referral partner, and my world loan officer. So, from an originator's perspective, who is your two client avatars? From a real estate referral partner perspective and from a consumer perspective, right? You might be somebody who doesn't want to work with first time homebuyers. Okay, cool. So then the other perspective is investors, self-employed borrowers. Like I love my non-QM stuff, right? At first I was like, screw that, right? Who has 15, 20% down to put down? Now I'm like, holy shit, everybody does. Um, so so what is your perfect avatar and how do we focus on that? And then from there, how do we build your own individual brand that you could simultaneously reciprocate without having to plug into our individual model?
Yeah, I was looking at the notes and you said something here that I actually really loved. I'm going to start using it, not just for branding, but for multiple things. Because a loan officer, a mortgage advisor has a workflow on a loan file, right? And they always know like, hey, for this file to be successful, it's gotta do all of these things. And your comment here was treat the brand like a loan file. And I love that, just the wording of that, because now I think I can speak to other people and they'll understand it. Like, "Oh, you're right. I can't give a pre-approval letter until I see tax returns and pay stubs and assets and all that stuff." And then they still gotta go find a house, but then, we gotta write the contract, we gotta win the contract. It's a lot of people trying to get the same house. So how do you do that, right? And then it's gotta get underwritten. So it has this entire workflow, and I thought that the way you worded that, in this questionnaire that I have is phenomenal. So when we dwell on that for a minute, right? When a new loan officer comes in, you're saying, "Hey," I always ask the question like, "Hey, who do you want to be?" This is your chance to start over if you want. Like, let's figure out what you want the world to perceive you as. Because if you say, I want the world to perceive me as a successful mortgage advisor that knows what he's talking about, that's trustworthy, that blah, 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 blah. And then you go out and you do a bunch of stupid shit and take pictures of yourself at a rave and stuff like that. That's not trustworthy. That doesn't even remotely look like trustworthy, right? So, how do you, when the loan officer comes in, right, and you do all this stuff, how do you teach that? And how, like, walk me through that process, because this is a great experience for somebody right now that's saying it to themselves. I am online. I do post a little bit, but I don't I don't really have a rhyme or reason as to how I do it. Maybe teach us there.
Yeah, I mean, again, I go back to the client avatar. So your client avatar is first time homebuyer. So you want to be so educational driven. It's all comes down to communication. How are you communicating yourself to consumer referral partner? So are you potentially putting out information on first time homebuyers? Are you talking about your traditional 3.5% down, 5% down upfront mortgage insurance? What's the various different perspectives? If you're a referral partner, are you talking about the difficult files that you're dealing with transparently where you got kicked in the teeth and you took it? Are you talking about, the various different, if you're working with financial advisors, because that's a big part of our business, are you talking about asset depletion and what you've done to share with them that you've taken advantage of some non-traditional perspective where you've supplemented a client's W-2s with asset depletion without them having to tap into their social security or 401k or retirements without them having to do so? Are you putting that content out there? If you're not and you're successful, God bless you. But at the same time, put that information on there. I've never found more success. And you've seen recently some of my content has been like me walking to the gym, by the way, right? Traps might be popping a little bit, right? They're looking a little swolled up. But it's usually because I just finished a workout. But it's also because, oh, like, holy shit, we just did this deal, or I'm dealing with this transaction. And I found so much success with the live transactions that we deal with as originators because I can confidently tell you, especially on like my Facebook, where I just put in like the, big bold letters or whatever where it stands out, just close a deal in 7. We just close a freaking jumbo in 7 days. You know how many realtors reach down there? How the fuck did you do that? Um, so putting that stuff out there without keeping that stuff to yourself as a producing originator, I think allows that much more of that synergy to be in place, and just sharing the actual stuff that we do on a day to day. And if you don't do it, share the things from a day to day perspective that you're doing right now that is like aligning yourself to the point where that's your target audience. And I guarantee you it will start trickling along the way.
Yeah. One of the things I'll say too is I'll add to all that is do yourself a favor and don't try and be somebody you're not. Be true to yourself. There's going to be people that don't like you. I think that's okay. There's You're going to find the people that do, and you'll be way more successful with it. You'll be happier in general when you're trying to be you as opposed to trying to be somebody you're not. So, um, all right. And then I'm just going to kind of go through some of the stuff you have here. So you also have build content in batches, uh, publish daily. I keep a 12-month content queue, so posting never depends on the day I'm having. Do you really have 12 months of content done at all times?
We do. So
Gosh
so
dang, dude.
so so
Crazy.
so we figured out within some AI platforms that you could literally obviously schedule the content. That is one that is done from a if I forget type of deal. Um, I've never found more success than talking about, as I said a couple seconds ago, the stuff that you're dealing with on a day-to-day perspective, right? That freaking difficult deal that is like keeping you up at night, right? Producing originals who listen to this, or owners or divisions, or like that shit that's boggling you down. And then you grab a camera and you talk about it, because I can confidently tell you guys the stuff that is like driving us batshit crazy is what a lot of us are dealing with, right? But if you forget, for whatever the case may be, or maybe social media is not your thing for whatever reason, right? Um, AI and has not allowed it that much more. And I'm not talking about like your boilerplated like content. I'm talking about like somewhat customized. It's never been easier to customize it, right? With AI, it's never been easier to make it like so appealing to a point where it doesn't even seem AI, right? And how much do you hear this too, where people were like, "Oh, that was an AI generated flyer. Like, you lazy bastard, you could have done better." Dude, who cares, dude? That person has put content out there, right? And it might resonate with just one freaking person, and I'll take that, right? So the fact that that individual has taken that necessary step to put that content, maybe he or she will eventually realize that it might be perceived as AI. I mean, not, right? Your average consumer may not recognize that. And if you boost it and spend a couple bucks behind it to get in front of that potential client avatar that you have, and it reciprocates you a deal, keep going. But put the content out there, and I think eventually you'll figure out what's working, what's not.
Yeah, agree. And then automate the boring stuff. A daily rate graphic goes out to your agents and a client every morning, without you touching it. So brilliant, right? Like figure out what's time consuming and what can be automated, and do that. So in your opinion, do you believe your agents should hear from you every single day about what rates are doing, or is it just rates, or is it other stuff too?
It's a combination. We do our today's Monday, so we do our Monday market update, right? We use Housing Link with Scott and his team. So I always have so much crap to give you. Like I get so freaking excited. So we do like a custom video and then Notebook LM. So there's an infograph, there's a video overview with AI, there's an implementation brief, there's an overall summary report. Um, I would say again, yes, I do think in today's world, as the market continues to expand, is you do need to stay top of mind. Now, for me, I might do it on a daily basis because I have a phenomenal team that is speaking as an extension of me, right? But start, if you're not doing anything right now, guys. Start maybe from a monthly perspective, then dwindle it down to a weekly perspective, then dwindle it down to a maybe a bi-weekly perspective, then kind of find your way where you're having friendly conversations with people, where you build that culture with that partner who's calling you and complaining to you about their wife, and they're complaining to you about their children, and you know what I mean? Because it's the reality of it is we're all dealing with, the stuff. And I think if you build that relationship as originators with your referral partners, it's only going to translate that much more into a loan officer is not picking up the phone. And this freaking guy is constantly emailing me rate updates, constantly emailing me market updates, constantly telling me that they're about to get rid of the 90-day flip. They're constantly emailing me that this is happening. Constantly. There's no way I'm not going to have a shot at bat, right? Our goal is to have as many chances at bat. And if I can do so with a little bit of automation, a little bit of tech, a little bit of maybe a time block of 30 minutes to check in on those top 10, 15 referral partners via CTE, call, text, email, and checking in on them, there's absolutely no way where I'm not going to have that one time at bat to, crush that grand slam and you really rinse that partner along the way.
Yeah, and if somebody unsubscribes, so be it, right? It's like you got to do all the
See you
rest.
later.
Um,
See you later.
yeah, I'm gonna. It's funny. I've used Notebook LM a bunch of times, but I'll admit I haven't used it in forever. I
Dude,
really have
I
not gone
use
into
it.
it for a long time.
Shit. I think even when we did maybe the first pod, I mean, I've really dived into it. But it's pretty cool, and I love obviously with freaking Google. I mean, dude, like their videos nowadays, like cinematic. It's pretty dope. I would, especially if I don't know if you guys use Google Workspace or Outlook or whatever it is, but it is so worth the investment. Now we just upgraded because we ran out of space in our drives, so I upgraded to paying $16 and not be a cheap bastard than $8. Um, but now Gemini comes like as an extension of it. So we use the Drive or the OneDrive. So now Gemini is actually reading clients' pay stubs, W-2s, contracts, doing a full-blown overview of some stuff like that. So it gets pretty fun after a while, especially when it's integrated. And that's been the really cool part because I'm always like, holy shit, this just saved me instead of like extracting a consumer's W-2s and just snipping just the income part, no self-identifying information, and creating a custom Claude project to identify the income calc or create our own proprietary LLM. This just fucking gave me the client income calculations and W-2s that I could do so. No self-identifying information, but I could do so. Holy crap. I just had to pay an extra $8 per user in order for me to get access to this. This is pretty cool. So
Yeah. So one of the issues I had with Notebook LM, and tell me because I was gonna say I haven't used it in a long time, and maybe it's better. I created these great notebooks, right, with videos and podcasts and everything in it, but I couldn't share them with anybody that was outside of the company. Can
you
you do that now?
you would have to the way that I use, I can confidently tell you, is the way that we do it is we would download it. The traditional way, let me tell you, last year is we would download them and attach them to an email, right? Like as a PDF or upload it to YouTube and leave it unlisted. Now, with Scott and his team with Housing Link, we just create a custom housing link, which is like a one-page landing page with all the shit. So now, prior to meeting and post meeting, agent or consumer are getting a prior to meeting. Hey, Abdel's so excited to meet with you, and it's a canned video. Yo, dude, so excited to meet in a few minutes. Love the opportunity for you to make the decision that you're looking to buy a house. I'm gonna look forward to meeting you. We have a phone call or Zoom, whatever the case may be. Look forward to holding it down. And then you keep that consumer regimented to that what I call home buying pass, the entire perspective. So now it's a referral partner. It's the same thing. Before we meet an agent, we're doing a brand audit. We're running their model match information. We're running all the various different stuff. And then post meeting, we're adding everything there as well. That agent goes, holy shit, this person just gave my whole transcript. They just gave me an infographic. They just gave a meeting. And my team is behind me giving that stuff. It's like I said, it's in today's world, just like any sales perspective, not just marketing, is how can I separate myself from the mix? And what I have found is if we do this with a regimented, consistent perspective with my team, support, biz dev, growth, It will certainly allow us that much more of an opportunity on top of branding, on top of authenticity, on top of understanding product profiles. That will give me the competitive advantage that I need to win that partner for life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. What what do you think the industry or other people get wrong in all this?
Trying to do a little bit of everything without actually formalizing like an actual plan in place, right? And I think like I've got the blessing to speak at Housing Wire next month at the Housing Wire AI Summit. I don't know
Yeah,
if you're going this
congratulations, by
time.
the way, that's awesome.
Thank you. And that's like the biggest thing that we're talking about is, as industry leaders, like where do we necessarily uh have that impasse in place? And I'm like, you really can't, like, from an from like an executive perspective. Like, I think giving too much to originators is a problem, right? Because then you try to, like, pilot this and pilot that and do this and do that. I think, like, finding that picture perfect process and then sharing it with an originator where you're like, I don't need to recreate the wheel, right? I can sit there and actually rinse and repeat this, or maybe there's like option A or option B if you're heavy, like, again, home first time home buyer. This is your perfect avatar perspective. If it's heavy, non QM, this is your perfect avatar perspective. If you're financial advisors, your perfect avatar perspective. It's not the number of tools that are there, and you and I both know. I mean, I have to stop myself in many instances because I've learned where I'm like, holy shit, this does this, and I'm like, stop, like don't do it, like blinders, like keep going. But I would say the first thing we're industry professionals get wrong, I think your question was, is concentrate on what you think you do very well and then build a system around that. So if you have great conversations with referral partners or consumers, you probably, because you're one human being or two or three if you have an LOA or processor, you probably don't have the greatest like post follow up perspective because it's physically impossible, right? Follow up, follow through, follow back. It's just not possible. So how do you somewhat regiment that process to become automated? And in today's day and age with AI, it lets you do that. And if you don't, if you're struggling as an originator to bring that perspective, then search yourself. Are you easily recognizable in your local market? If you're not, then post blogs till you're blue in the freaking face to the point where AI has no choice but to recommend you, right? And then if it does that, then regiment your systems and processes to field those calls, right? Field those conversations, field those phone calls. If you don't pick up a phone, like, if you call me, I don't have a voicemail, it goes to my office. They're on from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Build those systems in place where you can constantly business develop, business develop, business develop, and have your support team along the way of supporting you.
Yeah, that's great, man. It's great advice. Um, this is my favorite part. We're coming to the end. Just a couple basic questions and then the big one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite book, man? Like you're obviously well read.
Yeah, I would say start with Why, Simon Sinek. Previous to that was Atomic Habits, but start with Why, Simon Sinek. It's allowed me the opportunity to even verse my conversations differently. Why, how, what, rather than versely, like, what are the programs for you? How can I help you? Why are you looking to buy a house? Now the first perspective is, why are you looking to buy a house? How can I help you? And what are the programs available for you?
Yeah, it's great, great. How many books do you think you read a year?
A minimum of once a month. I'm a part of a book club, right? We started it, Books, Beans, and Brotherhoods. It's 14 different local referral partners that we're a part of. Each person picks one new book, but I would probably say upwards of about 16, 17 books with a couple sprinkled in between, that we really enjoy. I've got my, literally right here. I've got my little journal where I've got my notes written down based on the book and what we like and what we enjoy speaking about and all that stuff. Um and that has definitely been a different perspective too. One of the reasons why, frankly, I got rid of a few loan officers this past 6 months was because of the current book that we're reading, right? A Smart Hire. Did a 6 month assessment. Unfortunately, some of the loan officers did not fit the culture that we were looking to hire, and we just had to go our separate ways.
Do you got books there, I think. Do you have the Bible next to you?
So I'm Muslim, so the Quran. but very, very similar ideology. But the Bible is one, surely, because very similar culture perspectives, and you assimilate along the way.
So I was going to see if you could pull it out. It's Proverbs 27:17. It says, iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. And I just wanted to bring that up because that's what we did here today.
Yes,
And you absolutely sharpened everybody's iron. So thank you for that.
absolutely.
Um, Being that, our company name is Ethos, I want to start asking everybody. I haven't asked this question, but I want to. Like, what's your ethos?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just authenticity, man. Just you've met me in person. You've met me, I think, when we first met in Sales Mastery. I am
And
certainly
by the way,
the
you're a lot nicer than you appear. Like
yes,
I thought you were gonna be.
yes. I certainly get that. And that's always been one of like, do I come off nicer? I'm like, no, fuck that. Unless you come up to me and have a conversation, will we do so? Um, I think it's authenticity, man. I think that's the part that a lot of partners over the last few months, years, um, I'm the dude that's gonna stand out, right? I'm gonna wear the obnoxious jersey. I'm not gonna be in a suit. Maybe housing wire, I'll be in a suit, but it's just like, hey man, like you get me, you know that we're gonna execute, you know that I'm gonna say the same shit. I might drop a couple curse words here and there. I've gotten a lot better at it, but like
You
that's just
have, by the way, you have gotten so
ah,
much better at than a year ago. Like noticeable difference. Great
yes.
job.
Yo, thank you. Um, I think it's and what I've realized too very quickly is partners realize that, consumers realize that. Um, who am I to fake it, dude? Like, and I think that should be everyone's ethos. Like just click with the people you want to click with. Click with the partners that you want to click with, right? Like that should be everyone's like motto. Where like I'm not for everybody, right? I'm not for every referral partner. I'm not for every consumer. I want to work with you. And if you honestly give me the blessing of the opportunity to do so, I will damn well go through that, long ends of the earth and to make it work. So I think since we've adopted that mentality, it's been blessings in disguise because you always try to take care of maybe that rate shopper client, right? And you're like, this person is different. Guess what? The rate shops you. You always wanted to do, something like this. And I think I've identified that very quickly. And that's what's allowed us the opportunity to just be happier in life.
All right, man. Here it is. The $1 million drop. I'm gonna pick you up and drop you off somewhere in the United States. And you need to make $1 million doing loans. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to see your family or talk to them until you've made $1 million. First of all, you don't know anybody there. Second of all, you don't have a bunch of money. You have an allowance, it's just enough. Kind of think of yourself as just starting out again. Only you have all the knowledge you have now. What are you gonna do? And how long will it take you to make $1 million?
The first thing I would do is grab this and start shooting content, right? First thing I would do, grab this, start shooting content, talk about communication, talk about the perfect loan process, talk about the various different opportunities of what makes me unique from a referral partner's perspective and a consumer perspective and how I can create that synergy as I create a couple bucks, join my local chambers, that BNI, those tips, those various different opportunities, because now I can create cross synergy opportunities where I can help various different referral partners, especially when you said you dropped me with some knowledge, right? Talk about artificial intelligence, talk about various different opportunities for sales, service, support. That would be my first perspective. Exactly what we do in today's day and age with a couple sprinkle of consumer direct lead flow. But without doing that, just what are the things that are working in today's market and understanding also financial literacy, right? Like, who the hell knew that shit, it's been 4 months, right? Since March, right? Rates were like 5.9. You're like, yes, this is it. Let's go. And then, nope, got them, right? And then rates went to 6. And you're like, son of a gun. But I understood financial literacy. And if you asked me, oh, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, about CPI and PPI and consumer price index and producer price index and producer. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Rates are 2.9%. Who the hell cares? I also started to articulate very quickly that I actually need to understand what moves the market and what is the expectations to move the market, right? Like rates took a dump today, right? Why did it take a dump? Was it, home builder price index? Was it based on national retail sales? Did the JOLTS report come out? Did ADP report come out? So I think becoming more financial literate in what helps you understand the market on top of branding, on top of because you gotta kind of know what is the third party impact. Now, granted, you might get a tweet or two and you're like, shit, I was gonna lock this client. Now that goes to damn. But traditionally, understanding financial markets and having educated conversations with your consumers where you know what you're talking about and they can kind of sort of like validate it by going on Google or going on chat and saying, oh, my loan officer just told me that inflation just went up, whatever the heck it is right now. This percentage, and they could verify it. They're like, you know what? That person knows what they're talking about. I'm going to stick when they tell me to lock at 6.9 over 6.75. That would be my fair assessment of what you should do to be successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dude, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on once again. And
Always.
just that's a lot of wisdom packed into 8 years of you doing this business. That's truly impressive.
I appreciate
Love
you.
it.
Thank
Congrats.
you.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, if you couldn't do loans anymore, what would you be doing right now?
Shit, probably spending more time with my kids. Um, I would probably say, you might have heard me say this before, but marketing. I always say we are all marketing professionals who happen to concentrate on a specific niche, right? So obviously SEO, AEO, GEO, but I think we are all successful marketing professionals. Well, if you're successful in this business, you're a successful marketing professional. You're a successful marketing professional who happens to concentrate on a particular niche, which is mortgages, right? And that was the purpose of my mastermind, right? Where I teach stuff from a full blown sales marketing perspectives. And I never mention mortgages. And I talk to them about posting daily on blogs and posting content and being found in numerous different places and spending your couple bucks to be found in your local shop rate and your local this and your local that. I would probably say marketing and constantly innovating or frankly building out various different platforms and kind of taking it from there.
Yeah, love it. I've always said, yeah, get to know your trade, know how to do a loan, get good at it, and then let somebody else do it so you can become a marketing expert. Because if your phone doesn't ring, doesn't matter how good you are, you know?
Exactly.
Anyways, man, thank you again. Thank you for coming. Guys, I want to thank you for listening. I'm just blown away. We are blowing up as a podcast. Like truly just, I remember the whole first year we got like 25,000 downloads and now we're inching up to 100,000 downloads a month.
But
So I'm
good.
stoked on that. And you guys are the best. So thank you. Please do go comment and do everything else. And then don't forget, this is season 2. And in season 2, we are going to be producing a playbook at the end of every episode. So everything we talked about is going to get broken up and produced into like one nice PDF that's executable. You guys will be able to go to the website. It's dinokatsimatis.com. It'll be on socials as well. But just put in your name or your email address. We'll give you a full download on exactly how to do this, thanks to everything Abdel taught us today. So thanks again. Love you guys. See you next week.